From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok, and this is Subjective Wars.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and this is still Subjective Wars. Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. This is the show which we decide everything in Star Wars in a 30-minute-ish or less show. The answers here are final. Now, as the title suggests, this is a subjective debate. Not even a debate. Discussion. I'll just watch the show. What am I doing? Just watch the show.
Yeah.
Normally, go ahead.
Right, please go ahead. No.
Normally we're here with Jennifer Landa. She is out due to life schedule, so just us today.
Yeah. I wish Jennifer could be here because I really want her insights on this one. I also always like to acknowledge when we record far in the future that I've got some travel plans coming up. I've got a trip to Norway. And when this episode releases, I will actually be in Norway. We're recording this about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks early. So who knows what has happened in the world or in Star Wars by the time we release this. So, if the Acolyte ends, and if it turns out Chimera was actually, young Palpatine in disguise or some wild, ridiculous thing that isn't going to happen, we don't know that right now here in the past. We're speaking to you from the past.
Yeah, indeed we are. No, good caveat because, we don't know what the world would be like. So here we are. We're discussing Star Wars. This topic is inspired a little bit by Acolyte, going back a couple episodes. And that I'm glad you said it because I didn't. At the time, mysterious unknown planet that a lot of people thought, with good reason, that it was Ahch-To, revealed not to be. The actual planet revelation, we might know by now, or we might not. We'll see. The future is always in motion. But going back to that, inspired by that, we wanted to go to The Last Jedi. We wanted to go to Ahch-To. We wanted to look at the Porgs, at the Dark Side Cave, at the Caretakers, all of it, and compare it to another similar location in Star Wars, Dagobah, the original mysterious Dark Side Cave-in, weird landscape, crazy animals, no caretakers other than Yoda hanging around. So today, Dagobah versus Ahch-To. Opening thoughts, overall theme, ideas, anything in your brain on those two locations, Joseph?
Yeah, I always like to check in with myself about, do I have a big bias? And I think I have a bias in both directions, which cancel each other out. What I'm drawn to about Dagobah is how long it's been with me. I remember my, 8th birthday was one of the best because I got the Dagobah playset. And I think I got also Luke's battle damaged X-Wing, so I could crash it in front of the playset. I've lived with Dagobah so long. I love the scenes there. I loved them when I was a kid, and they've only grown to mean more to me. But our conversations also often end up, going into different ways to look at it. And it's not just which is more meaningful, which is more cool in Star Wars. We often veer into the personal and look, if it's a choice about where I'm going to live, it's Ahch-To by a lot. I don't like having, I part of what Luke's bravery and strength on Dagobah is look at his dirty pants. I would be so uncomfortable on Dagobah.
Yes. No showers, just a bog you have to go into. I don't know about that.
Your sweat is your shower on Dagobah unless you can find some clean spring, I guess.
Yeah, and look, I'll say, hey, probably no showers on Ahch-To that we know of, but there could be a system. One of those other huts could have a little thing where you pull and a bucket fall. It could be there.
Yeah. Some caretakers probably wash it down.
The long Jedi brushes,
yes. So do you start with any sort of bias?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit towards Ahch-To because of what you said in terms of, well, I'd like to live there of these two choices, but that is not the core of the debate. That could be it. We always say that the metrics kind of emerge, but I think in Star Wars, when we're talking about locations, we did it with Mustafar and Exegol. Where would you want to live? Where would you want to be? So because of that, I go to Ahch-To, but I also have to own that, like you, Dagobah was this mystical place that enthralled me and intrigued me from a young age. I didn't have the playset, but my friend did, and I really wanted it. And I did have a Yoda, snake and all, cane and all. I love it, love what it means, and I love what we've learned more about that planet, and also include some of the legend stuff, some of the Zahn trilogy stuff had that. I think that was the first time of Yoda may have fought someone there, if I remember that. not canon now. And actually, I'm glad that isn't. I like what kind of exists, or that version of it. It could be something else later on. But yeah, so as much as I say, hey, Ahch-To, man, love to retire there, Dagobah, the bias kind of almost leans that way at the end of my thought, because grew up with it, and it's a historic spot.
Yeah, no. And I think another vote in favor of Dagobah for me is, it makes sense to compare them the way they are, because they're both, strong in the Force. They're where two Jedi Masters went to isolate and reflect. Uh, but Ahch-To is the first Jedi temple, right? And Dagobah's almost more like, I maybe there was a Jedi temple there, and maybe that's there somewhere in canon that I haven't remembered.
Right.
But it was also like much more of a, let's get away from the idea of the Order. The Order failed, and I want to reattach to the essentials. I want to reattach to nature in the way you can see in the lives of animals, the natural cycle of life and death. And, I love the idea that Yoda chooses to hide himself, not just in a place that has powerful light and then powerful dark because of the dark side cave, but also that idea of just like, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to, it's Qui-Gon instructed me, the living force, the energy that is animated from all life. And I want to go to a small, forgotten place that nobody pays attention to or thinks is important, but it's just thriving with life. And what better way to hide myself is just among the living force, because all of these beings are a part of these force. Every little bug crawling around is a part of the force and matters. That whole kind of reason of why Yoda chose Dagobah is really fascinating.
Yeah, I kind of see Dagobah as it's a challenge coin there. It's a location that's going to make you think about things, and I hope in a good way, But where we've seen it, it is like, oh, you have some ideas on some things and how they are. This whole planet kind of serves with the living force just exploding out of every lizard's mouth, going like the living force all around you. Qui-Gon sends Yoda there in the Clone Wars series to have some of those wonderful mystical episodes about Yoda versus himself there. So you got to be challenged. Luke's ideas of, I want to be a hero, I want to be a Jedi like my father, that is challenged there. Now, Ahch-To has a lot of that, but I think by the time we see it, I see it as a Jedi temple. It's not necessarily why you go there. It's got the elements, as we'll discuss. But I like with Luke, it's like, talk about only, what's in there, only what you bring with you. What's on Ahch-To? Only what you pack in your bag or your soul and bring. So it turns into a challenge spot for our Jedi heroes as well there. But Dagobah, I'm not saying Dagobah is designed for that, but definitely is used a little bit more of like, let's reevaluate what you think and where you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we often joke, sometimes on air, but definitely off air, about getting frustrated with the world and be like, I'm going to move to the woods, right? And Dagobah is the sort of like, you're having that conversation with your friend and like, I'm going to move to the woods. And your friend's like, build a cabin and you'll still have Wi-Fi. And you're like, no, the woods.
The woods. Yeah.
I'll live in a desiccated tree trunk. I will eat the leaves that I find nearby. Nature is all I need. I'll bring a pot to cook in case I don't find the right kind of broken rock to ladle up my soup. Like how much it is a absolute return to nature and what that means within the great Star Wars theme of the organic versus the mechanical. Luke turning off his targeting computer and trusting his feelings, but also the contrast between the rigidity of the Empire and cold imperial mechanical structures versus Yoda going, I'm stepping away from all that. I'm not even going to live in a building. I'm going to live in a tree, a cave,
Yeah. What you're talking about too is like, I want to go get away to the mountains. So I reserved a hotel at Big Bear. Do you want to join us up there versus your friend who's like, yeah, I'm going hiking in the high Sierras. I'll see you in 6 weeks.
Yeah. And again, on a thematic level, I'm like, beautiful. On a real life level, I'm like, no.
Big Bear.
No.
Big Bear.
Does Dagobah have plumbing? Because otherwise, I'm out. I don't care how badly I failed the Order. I'm not
Go
going to a
out.
place with no plumbing.
You know, like I've always said, I'll go to Burning Man when they open up a Hilton there. Uh, I'll see you in the lobby. Yeah, but so I think we're doing a good job of setting the table here. But now starting to, because we could probably have an entire conversation about the table setting of these two wonderful planets. Where do you go first? What has the advantage and why? What do you start checking off your metric list there?
Yeah, I think Ahch-To has a lot to speak to it for it about similar. It is a place to reconnect with nature.
Mm,
Luke's great speech to Rey about how the dark side and the light side are there and they're natural, and it's all illustrated with those great flashes of the wildlife on Ahch-To. Like Porg is born, it's beautiful, and it's eaten by a predator, and it's sad, and that's the
mm,
cycle of natural life, light and dark. It's got the light and dark of the great pinnacle
mm,
of looking out at the horizon, of the Jedi Temple on the top, and then the dark side cave that lies to you. So it has a lot of the same elements of Dagobah,
mm.
but it does have a little bit more of a sense of society. A temple was built there. There are still individual dwelling units. It's got a cleaning staff.
Yeah,
It's not. It's
yeah,
Ahch-To is like the hotel that would be built at Burning Man. Of like, it's still a part of nature,
still there.
but there's a staff. you know,
It's got a
uh,
staff and Susan Sarandon's at the lobby hanging out here. Yeah. Mm, go
yeah.
on.
So I
Sorry.
think it's Dagobah with a little more sense of society, which I think, to me, an element I like about that in terms of the contrast is I think even Yoda was upset, right? Failed, I have, but I think he had hope that like this all fell apart, but there is hope for the future, and I need time to reflect, and I need time to think, and there are still other Jedi out there who I maybe need to commune with. I need to commune with Qui-Gon. I think Yoda was like, I need to tap out and come back to when I'm needed. So there's a little bit more of like he's in peace with himself. He's in peace with his decision, even though he's upset. Whereas Luke is in a little bit of denial, right? Of like,
Yes.
in my heart of hearts, I don't actually want to burn down the Jedi Order, but I'm so sad. I'm so mad at myself. I'm so afraid of causing further harm.
Mm-hmm.
Luke is a little bit more like when we joke about being frustrated and we're like, well, I'm going to go live in the
Yeah.
woods. Luke's like, I'm going to go live on an island. And I feel like that little element of society, the fact that he goes somewhere to just sort of mourn and be alone, and he isn't. He goes there to just live off the land the way Yoda does, but he isn't alone. There are caretakers there. They're going, actually, these books are really important, and we're going to dust them every day. And dude, it's kind of gross. You haven't showered. Can we clean your robes? Like, it's kind of perfect because there's that part of him that isn't entirely in sync with his decision. As much as he criticizes the Jedi Order rightfully in The Last Jedi, he can't bring himself to burn it down.
Yeah.
And that little bit of society is like a symbol of that resistance.
I know, a great way to look at it. And by the way, how wooed of Luke to be kind of a guest on the island and be like, by the way, I'm going to burn down your visitor center. I'm going to burn down your library.
Nice historical center you got here, small town.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Man, yeah. Gosh, no, I agree that Ahch-To, one of the reasons I think I really like it is it represents history, the history of the Jedi Order. It represents where a lot of things began. It actually has the text, and page turners they were not. Get that and get that reference. And again, what do you bring into it there? But I think what the lesson of it all, of a lot of things Luke's going through, is like even just burning it down is not the answer, and it's not the answer you sought. So it's makes Ahch-To more interesting to me as a fan a little bit now in the modern era. Of I got Dagobah, as mystical as it was, mysterious as it was, and we don't have all the answers there. We have more answers with Ahch-To, but I like what Luke learns there. I like what Rey learns there, and I like what you could potentially anyone could learn there if you go there and find the origins of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, and I like the idea that Dagobah is just like this huge, massive swarm of life. Then Ahch-To is just kind of weird. Like, yeah, it's isolated. Yeah, they're all islands, and yeah, some other weird hermit could be on the other side of the island, maybe.
Yeah.
so there's that little bit of like we're kind of trying to be isolated and alone, but maybe we're not, you know. And certainly he isn't with, with the caretakers there, the Lene, and their,
Mm-hmm.
and their weird pirate husbands are off
Yep.
doing something else,
Yep. And that's an underrated point for Ahch-To is there's weird pirate husbands on the other side of the planet doing some work.
Yeah, like clearly the rest of the galaxy, particularly sort of players in the ongoing battle of the light and the dark, they don't know about Ahch-To, and it's fallen off of any galactic maps. But what's your reading? Is like Luke is alone from all of the players until Rey finds him, and then Snoke pulls that information out of her mind. But do you feel like it could actually be a busy planet, right? Like on the other side of the island, are there like a bunch of different Lene, or have Thala-Sirens evolved differently and they're having parties and wars on the other side of the planet? Is Luke only isolated from the world in the galaxy and the players he knows, or is he really isolated from life?
I actually think that's a great point. I haven't thought of it in too much detail of typical Star Wars. The entire planet's a city. The entire planet's a snowstorm. The entire planet's a forest. Well, this is maybe a planet of water and islands, but I do think there's something on the other side. I think this is just a place that is so key and central to the Force and the story of the Jedi that you could just go there and do this. Luke could gain passage on one of those pirate ships back out.
Oh yeah,
he could figure it out. He doesn't want to. I like what you say that Ahch-To has a societal structure there, as unknown as it is to all of us at this point. I like that idea. That Luke was on an island that was on a planet that was full of some sort of life, but he had so disconnected he didn't want to find out more.
Yeah, because if the Lene husbands are pirates, hey, you can't be a pirate alone.
You can't pirate alone.
Unless they're just talking it up to their caretaker wives and like, we're pirates. We raided this planet and like we raided this island, and they're like, do you guys mean you picked some fruit and you're calling yourself pirates?
Or there's some kind of LARPing going on, or they're not telling me. Yeah, we're LARPing as pirates. We're going the other side. It's Mitch from the other island, so we meet his crew. We act it out. Yeah.
How funny would it be if they went to another island and they acted out old Jedi Sith conflicts that happened on Ahch-To millions of years ago, and like we put on the robes and we get out the sticks and
see, this is more reason to explore Ahch-To.
Right.
I know Dagobah's got a lot of things going on. I love from a certain point of view, as the first collection of books, right? The first collection of stories in which we spend some time with Yoda there. That's he kind of thinks Leia's the one, but he, during the different months, different seasons, he's got to go into the high country. He's got to go, his hut's more in the low country. I love all that about the land. I just still don't think there's any kind of normal society there, unless, again, you count the iguanas.
Yeah. And maybe there are iguana wars that Yoda's like, come on, guys. So what do you think your experience would be like if you tried to go to a place like Dagobah and like truly roughed it? Do you think you would get past some of the need for creature comforts? Do you think you would come to enjoy Yoda's lifestyle of like, he's got shelter, but other than that, he's just totally living off the land?
Other than taking the jokes out of it of I couldn't live off the land and would want to have my Netflix account to watch World War II and Cold War docs, taking that stuff out of it, I think I could for a bit, but I need to be connected. I would be attending Lene parties. I like to go as isolated I can enjoy being at times. I like to go have that exchange with the person behind the counter, being friendly with the rideshare drivers. I crave that a lot, and I think Dagobah would be too isolating. It sounds great. I would have conversations with iguanas, snakes, and lizards, and whatever's in the bog. I would do that. I talk to chihuahuas every day. It's a thing, but I think it would drive you a little crazy, and that's probably could be what's going on there too, of just the wills kind of wanting you being there to kind of what voices are you hearing, and maybe you can start to actually have conversations and see what the answers are. Whereas I think I'm drawn, and this takes it back to a little bit of like where you want to live, but like I'm drawn to what's going on Ahch-To. I think you could get a little bit of touch of that society.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, and Yoda's communing with Qui-Gon, so he's not entirely alone. I
Yep.
was laughing about the talking to animals because do you think Yoda has like named
Oh,
every snake? Like the one that kind of bites at Luke when he takes him out of
right.
the X-wing.
Hmm.
Yoda's in the middle of a very serious conversation, but otherwise, do you think he'd be like, bitey that is?
Yeah, absolutely. I call this one Pinchy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, oh yeah, and let's be honest. There's probably a couple of those animals there going like, "Who are you? Are you our next evolved form? Like, who are you? Who are you, little green frog man?" I love that there. Yeah, yeah. Um, it's hard to, I think this is an unfair advantage, but I was going to try to measure, some of the animal life on the planets, but thalassirans and porgs and the regular old birds that are flying there at the end of the Force Awakens.
Hmm.
All right, we can bring those up as well. It's hard for me to say they don't just absolutely smash the competition when it comes to Dagobah and all those creatures and whatever's in the bog.
It's true. We got the dragon snake, and I think the bog wings are the kind of
Mm-hmm.
more bat-like creatures. So, like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, you could easily have a porg buddy, right? Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
right? You could domesticate a porg and have them live in the hut,
Yep.
with you, with your little beehive hut, right? The
Yep.
thalassiren, like for all of the various jokes and
Mm-hmm.
fury about
Fury.
Luke
Absolute fury.
milking the thalassiren and about
Mm-hmm.
nipples in Star Wars, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, they seem like a pretty chill bud, right? If you're just
Oh yeah.
like, they're clearly like, yeah, no, that's fine. It's feel free to milk me. I'm just sitting here
I'm
staring
just
at the
relaxing.
ocean, right? Like I think Luke could grab a book, go down there and
Yep.
kick back and just like lean on the thalassiren like a buddy, like
Oh
just
yeah.
a living pal, a
Uh,
totally sentient, consensual body pillow that you're putting your head against and getting comfort from while you read a
oh,
book.
that's a nap, man. No, you're taking me back to the 2017, 2018 Thalassiren Green Milk Wars. But it's what I love the scene. I love what it represents. You and I have talked about that in the past. It is Luke almost back to his beginnings of isolated doing chores, and look at him. I love that look from Mark. I think it's one of his best moments in the film. But one of my little favorite moments is Ray kind of show and then look at it, and that Thalassiren looks over at her. And it's just like it's a living. Like
That's
there's
right.
communication going on.
There's that little like, who
Yep.
cares?
Yep.
What you gonna do?
And she's so put out by that. She's so like, what is happening? I love that
Yeah, I
scene.
mean, it tells the story
Yeah.
well. He's trying to tell her, I'm not this great, warrior hero myth. I'm just a dude who needs milk
Yeah, and
and gets
and
it in my beard.
and again,
And
advantage Thalassiren. If you're putting against a dragon snake or a bogwing, I'm going Thalassiren every time.
yeah, and the porgs win a lot. I think
Yeah.
I'm feeling a pull toward Ahch-To as well because, with the exception of I don't think they have plumbing, but I'm sure the caretakers are real. They seem like they want to keep everything clean. So I think there's one of those beehives that's where you do your business.
Look,
I think there's a plan.
we don't know
So
what makes it the dark side cave. We just know it's a dark side cave. So we don't know what's going on, what systems in place. No, I'm with you on that too. I'm with you on that
right.
too.
It's a funny image of Luke waking up in the middle of the night going, too much green milk. Gotta go down to the dark side cave.
Don't go in the water, Ray. Ah!
What's in there? Only what you take with you. And
Uh, and when you leave,
um,
ForceCenter devolves scatological
yeah,
humor. No, I
yeah.
love it, but
Sorry.
it's
Yeah.
no. It's like I love the look. I love the layout of, and I know there's cross sections and maps and stuff on Dagobah. I want to defend Dagobah here for being the classic location that it is, but I've stared at those maps of Ahch-To for a long time. I love the layout. I
Hmm.
love what it brings. I love the temple. I love the observation point. Love where the Falcon lands. It's just the Jedi steps, man, or the music just makes.
Hmm.
I just love spending time on that location.
Yeah, it's so great. Yeah, and I think the reason I keep pulling toward it is I want it's kind of my ideal writing retreat of like I'm
Yeah.
somewhere beautiful. I'm not
Mm.
entirely alone. There's people there to help me if I get in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm kind of communing with nature. I kind of need to rely on myself, but I have help and I can just clear my mind and focus. Whereas I
Mm.
feel like clearly Yoda gets that point for Dagobah, and he's a Jedi Master and not a dude like myself who's never actually been fully real camping.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would just spend most of my time on Dagobah being like trying to survive
Mm.
and going, is that Bogwin going to eat me?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Good retreat spot. And I guess the final big thing I think we're both clearly leaning towards, but we do have to compare those dark side caves.
Mm.
And what happens there. I love that you seek those kind of answers out, and it reflects maybe what you need versus what you want to hear, or vice versa. But yeah, as a kid, that cave. I mean, on Dagobah, I did not know what was going on. I got some of the meanings even young, but I thought it was real. I fell for it, when
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching on tape, which was weird because I'd seen Return of the Jedi first. And I was like, oh, what, he defeated? Oh wait, no. So I have a lot of positive memories of that mystical, scary, frightening cave.
Yeah, yeah. They both feature this great descent, right? This sort of
Yes,
willingness to go in them. I
yes,
suppose the one on Ahch-To, maybe I'd give the dark side cave on Dagobah more points because it
yeah,
seems like Luke has to work to crawl in there. Like you,
yes.
whereas Ahch-To, you're dealing with wet rock.
Mm. You could,
It's beneath you. Like,
yeah,
look, if and I know that is a real site that Ahch-To was filmed on.
mm.
I don't think there's an actual giant mossy hole. But the tour guides would put up some stanchions, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're just exploring Ahch-To, you could easily slip into it. And there's something I like about the Dark Side Cave that it can't reach out and grab you
Mm.
physically. That it is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
That you hear it calling to you. That that you can sense it's not right. You can sense a darkness or an anger, but it's
Mm.
offering you something, and you
Mm-hmm.
choose to go see what it's offering you. So
Mm.
in some ways, I think I like the cave on Dagobah that like it's so physically clear that you go in there, that you answer the call of your own volition, and there you can't go whoops.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I fell in a hole that needs stanchions, and I had
yeah,
a vision of my greatest fears.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think the cave on Dagobah has the advantage here. It's winning this category for sure. It's the entire sequence, and again, not that we did a breakdown of Rey and the Dark Side Cave. It's
Great scene, amazing.
back a few years on our podcast. Yeah, and she gets down there. Yeah, I'm with it all with what's going on there. But the Yoda just sitting there, kind of casually being like, "Dark Side, careful, don't go in there, or if you go in there, go unarmed." And I was always like, no, strap on that blaster, absolutely. Luke's a rebel. He's got to go in there and fight. Like, but just the entire sequence is just so memorable. Some of the greatest Yoda
It's so
moments.
powerful. And I also think another big vote in favor of Dagobah is I think it's designed so well to ultimately, be be a positive place, and that's the Star Wars thematic of organic versus mechanical,
Hmm.
and Yoda being entirely in touch with nature and all that. But it
Hmm.
works so well that when Luke first arrives there, it feels dark and
Yeah.
scary and like something out of a Brothers Grimm fairy tale of should I even be here? And
Mm.
we as the audience get to go along with like, yeah, you crashed. It's murky. Maybe you shouldn't be there at all. It's awful for R2.
Mm.
Uh, and then we get to know the truth of Yoda. We get to know the truth of Dagobah. And it turns out the planet is a beautiful, wonderful place.
Yeah.
And it's really the cave that he needs to worry about and his failure
Cave.
at the
The
cave.
cave. Love it. Well, any other big comparisons on the tape? We got two great X-wing lifting scenes. One that is classic, one that we love in Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot there. Where do you start to bring it home?
Yeah, it is entirely based on the metric,
Mm-hmm.
but just by a tiny bit, I think I'm going to give it to Ahch-To because I cannot shake the where do I want to go on vacation.
It's hard. It's hard, and I think even in the excitement of some of the stuff in Acolyte, that the moments that we thought, oh, maybe this is Ahch-To, like it didn't entirely. There's some things I didn't like about that possibility about
Hmm.
Chimera or a Sith influenced person finding it as easy, and then some questions of where the temple there, the Lene. But it was also I was like, but I would love to explore it more and explore it from someone else's perspective. So we know we don't get that, but that just shows me that end of the day, I really, really love what Ahch-To brings to the table, and there's so many memorable moments for me there too. Talking about great Yoda lines, that Yoda Last Jedi scene is a tearjerker for me, one of my favorites. So Dagobah, key to my Star Wars fandom. So many great things, so many classic moments. You will be great. I could spend a lot of time there as a Star Wars fan, but I gotta say, I'm with you. Ahch-To, it's kind of where I want to go.
Yeah, always with you. It cannot be done is like one of the most important lines to me. It's so great. But you also have the porgs trying to ignite the lightsaber in their own eye. Both equally deep, important moments in Star Wars, I say, joking. Yeah, man, that was hard for me. But,
hard. Yep.
Ahch-To.
We are just talking amongst ourselves, but you are listening, and you can help us decide. We don't have a third-party judge here today. We don't have Jen's thoughts on this. I think it would be a tough call for her as well. But let us know in the comments down below, and let us know why, and have fun with it, just like we're having here. It's all subjective. It's all your own personal perspective and experience in relationship to these locations. And as always, a lot of fun, yeah?
Absolutely.
Well, we're out of here today. You can find us, ForceCenter, on social media at ForceCenter Pod. We're on Facebook at ForceCenter Podcast, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe here. Hit the notification bell so you can get things like live streams and more breakdowns of the next shows on the way. We're having a lot of fun doing that with all of our newer listeners who've come over from YouTube, helped us grow over there as well. Listen to the podcast anywhere you find podcasts. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Get into the Discord and discuss all of this there with some really fun Star Wars fans. Follow me at Ken Napzok, or go to my website, kennapzok.com, for more information on comedy shows, appearances, including a big variety show on August 16th. Joseph, tell us more about that.
That is right. I am doing a show called Horror Years Old to celebrate a big birthday that I'm having. Ken's going to be on it. Our friend Hal Lublin, Audrey Kearns, my friend Laser the Boy, all sorts of great performers are joining me. If you are in the Los Angeles area, you can join us live at the Lyric Hyperion, 7:30 p.m. Friday, August 16th, or you can watch it online anywhere. Live stream tickets are available right now. All that information on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. That's it for me, Ken.
That's it for Joseph. That's it for me. And that is it for Dagobah and Ahch-To, at least for us. As I said, comment down below and help us decide these subjective words. So see you next time here on ForceCenter.